Now, many of you have asked me about the history of this model. You know, how did it all start? Way back, when I first got interested in mental health, which was in college, I was a sophomore in college, and I was saying, what the heck am I going to do with my life? I want to become I only had 3 choices in my family. You know, doctor, or doctor. And I said, okay, I'll become a psychiatrist. You know, go into mental health. And that was the beginning. And I had no idea I would get interested in children at that time. Then as I got into my residency training program in mental health, I said, this starts early in life, you know, in childhood. So I said, why not do some child psychiatry training? Why waste my 3rd year just being an administrator, you know, where you become a sort of a chief resident on different services. So I said, okay, I'll do child psychiatry, but I'll just do a year of it, just to get a flavor, because I was going to work with adults. But I was lucky. I came down to Washington and worked with Reg Laurie, and he said, babies, first 3 years of life. As I got more and more interested in younger and younger children, because it only made sense, I began saying, okay, who are the theoreticians who can help me develop a framework for understanding how development occurs? So I started reading the psychoanalytic literature, I started reading Piaget, I started reading the behavioral literature, because I had taken a course with B.F. Skinner in college. So I read about operant conditioning. I figured there's not that much known about human development, not much known about the human brain. Why not try to master that limited knowledge that is known? So I began doing some monographs, and this corresponded to after I'd done a year of child psychiatry training, I went over to NIMH on a special program and started doing research there. Then I was given an opportunity to go over to the Mental Health Study Center, where I was just there at the right time. They wanted to change things, and I got the opportunity to be director of the Mental Health Study Center, and I could create a new program. I brought Reg Laurie, who, again, just fortunately was retiring, over as a consultant, and we created the Clinical Infant Development Program. And in that program, I hired Serena, and she became our clinical director for our program where we work with multi-risk families, and that's where we brought in a lot of the leading experts. But I did 2 monographs, one integrating psychoanalytic and operant conditioning, which is at the heart of ABA theory as a model. And then I did another monograph integrating Piaget and psychoanalysis called Intelligence and Adaptation, which is still available, by the way, for those who are interested. And in the Piaget monograph, and you'll see the last chapter is basically our DIR FLOORTIME model, in the sense that it has the stages of development, the 6 stages, core stages, and the advanced stages, which is a synthesis of what these pioneers had observed. But it took the pieces they had observed, the affect piece, the cognitive piece. I also studied, what the motor theorists had, and the sensory theorists, tried to learn from my OT colleagues. We had a team of people at the Mental Health Study Center and our Clinical Infant Development Program, and put all that into the model. So that was the beginnings of the model. Many of you asked me how it all started. And then we were working with families, so it became informed by the real world, by working with real families and children who were having problems, some of whom were beginning to look autistic even in the first year of life, but we had the chance to follow them progressively. We had a chance to see them as they were developing their problems, not from older child special needs model on down, which is the way the rest of the field was going. So we were coming at it from the bottom up, not from the top down. And that's where we developed an affect-based approach, because we saw that that was so critical to all this. So that was at the heart and the beginning of it. And then it became further and further developed. And the book, I think, that best describes our current theoretical superstructure. There are many books that you know are describing our clinical and case studies. And you're familiar with those around the bookstores. But the book that describes the overarching theory is a book called The First Idea, co-authored with Professor Shanker, who's become my good friend Stuart Shanker, who runs the program up in Canada, where a philanthropist read that book and gave a $5 million grant to start a program at York University, because he was a graduate of York University. That's where we started the program there. And that's where we're developing the database now to support these ideas. So that was the beginning of how we developed this integrated way of thinking.